97.1 FM Talk Podcast.
Let me have your attention for a moment.
Stay calm.
What is it?
A life form of its own. The voice on the radio.
More than just a man.
This is something much.
Everything will be all right.
More dangerous.
Stand by to transmit.
Receiving you. Over.
Transmitting from the Liberty Lair broadcast studio.
Fighting for the America we knew.
Buck stops with me.
Champion of the productive.
Excuse me, I'm choked.
Defender of we the people from the imperial federal government.
Choked up with anger here.
This is the Randy Tobler Show.
I used to write letters, I used to sign my name, I used to sleep.
And we're back. Welcome to the Randy Tobler Show. It's the third hour of the program as we bring you the tweener episode of the Randy Tobler Show, of course, between Christmas and New Year's. And this is a great time to take stock of what happened in 2014 and, of course, looking forward to 2015. I'll be with you, by the way, on January 1st, New Year's morning, pinch hitting for Jamie Ullman. So look forward to hearing some of your prognostications then. But we always enjoy talking with our good friend Gerald Celente from TrendsJournal. He's the publisher of that great magazine and now digital. If you can lock him in there when we get him back on, okay? Rose, I'd appreciate it. But it turns out that he has released a digital special edition December of 2014. And, of course, the TrendsJournal tries to find and document history before it happens. This is a digital-only bonus issue, and it's the 2015 forecast. It's a first look at the trends that will affect us. And he has been right on in the past. And so we will be talking to Gerald now, if we can get him on. Are you there, Gerald?
I'm here, Randy.
Hey, sorry about that, buddy. Look, I think the North Koreans may have been hacking into us. I'm not sure. Hey, I was looking at the special edition here, your digital edition in December, and it's your 2015 forecast. And it's interesting because you talk about everything from the millennials and what is making them tick, all the way to the aging of the population and how that's going to affect our culture, our economics, our politics. But more than anything, the headline, the keynotes, we've lost control. What in the world? What do you mean here? That sounds like Armageddon, Gerald.
Well, in the sense that, for example, people can't blame what's going on in the economy on capitalism. We're calling it Bankism. And we're not making this up. 4 words killed capitalism, and everybody knows them. Too big to fail.
Mm-hmm.
In capitalism, there's no such thing. You rise and fall on your own merits. And when you're looking at what's going on around the world, it's banks are in control. Look what happened to the equity markets. Early in December, they were tanking. And all of a sudden, the Federal Reserve comes out, and they said, be patient with interest rates. And the whole thing turned around. Do you realize that they have not raised interest rates now since 2006? And here we're going into 2015. And all this has done, it's built the equity markets up while everybody else is getting poorer. Because when you look at the facts, most of the equity market increases have been from companies buying back their stocks because they could buy money so cheaply, and all of the merger and acquisition activity that is now back to 2007 levels because they're borrowing money for nothing. So look what's going on with Bankism. Here's the deal. Tell you what, Randy, you could borrow money from me at 0.25% because you're a good guy. And then when you get that dough, you could do anything you want with it because you're a bank. Oh, and you can loan it back to Gcelente on a credit card. Charge them anything you want. Start at 15% and go wild. So what's happened is it's not only in the United States, the central banks over in Europe, they have negative interest rates. If you want to keep your money there and over a certain amount, you have to pay them to keep it in the bank. And then you look what happened over in Japan with Abenomics. They just funneled in the equivalent in a year, what it would be in the United States compared to the GDP, $3 trillion a year.
Oh.
To boost the economy. So it's bankism. And in the old days, people used to put money in banks. They had a thing, they used to call it savings accounts. And you put your money in the bank, and you would get more on interest than the inflation rate. Now you put your money in the bank, you get nothing. So you're being forced to go into the equity markets. And when we go into the manipulation, the grand manipulation, by the way, that story is being written by Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, who's the former Assistant Treasury Secretary under Reagan. They're manipulating the markets. And this isn't a conspiracy theory. A fact is they manipulated the Forex market. That's the currency markets that are traded at the grand total of $5.3 trillion a day. The LIBOR, the interest rates, when they caught them doing it, we're talking about over $700 trillion worth of interest rates. And you know what happens to them? They call it, when they report them and they get the people that they were guilty, they call them misdeeds. And what they do for these misdeeds is they fine them, and nobody goes to jail. So the markets are totally rigged. It's a fact. So this isn't like the old days where you go in and you play the game unless you're one of the big-time players, and it goes back to bankism.
And, you know, Gerald, what scares me about the whole thing is the markets are rigged. The banks are too big to fail. They will survive no matter what. I mean, they're like cockroaches. I mean, right? That no matter what happens, the banks somehow will come out smelling like a rose, no matter what happens. And then I think of what's going on in those smoke-filled political rooms where they make these decisions to manipulate the economy, to sustain the banks, to sort of rig the system, an uprising market despite a lack of consumer demand. I mean, normally it's consumer demand and purchasing and demand for goods and services that increases the market. And then I think about our friend Jonathan Gruber. How many Jonathan Grubers are there at the Treasury, in the Oval Office, in the halls of Congress, who are saying, we can manipulate the peasants. We just keep them happy. We just keep them thinking everything's good. As long as we make it till the end of our term so we can escape to our little, villas in Monaco, no problem. As long as we can just keep it going, as long as we're in power, damn the rest of the peasants, right? Is that what's going on?
Yeah. No, look, I began my career. I used to run political campaigns in Westchester County in New York, back in the early 70s, and I was the assistant to the Secretary of the New York State Senate. And I was right there. It was the worst job I ever had. It was disgusting. A kid that was, grew up in the Bronx and Yonkers, to watch grown men grovel to do anything that they could do to get their way up to the top. You're setting it exactly. Look, there's 6 words that have killed this country, and I don't say this sarcastically because you mentioned Gruber, and you go up and down the list: Harvard, Princeton, Yale, bullets, bombs, and banks.
That about sums it up.
Yeah, and these cats, they think they're smarter, wiser, and better than everybody. You heard that guy, that total loser, Larry Summers, the former Treasury Secretary, who sold us out under Clinton with Glass-Steagall, that prohibited the banks from becoming the casinos that gamble, that was put in place during the Great Depression under FDR. The guy that under Obama did nothing to improve the economy other than destroy it more with all of this quantitative easing for their buddies. And you can't pick up a newspaper, a report about him, and he's always the brilliant Larry Summers. How about the blowhard Larry Summers? And that's all these people do. The Harvard, Princeton, Yale Club, it's one big circle jerk. And we're the ones that are getting on the losing end. Everything they do is failure, and that guy Gruber is the perfect example of who they are. And then when they get caught, I always love this. Oh, I apologize. What do you apologize? You apologize because you got caught.
No, that's right. No, I mean, it's not even apologizing for the content. It's apologizing for the, for the fact that they got caught. Now,
that's all.
But there's hope, isn't there? I mean, as I read through this digital version, the December 2014 special edition, our 2015 forecast, and this is Gerald Celente's Trends Journal from the TrendsJournal Institute. And that's TrendsResearch.com is the website, folks. TrendsResearch.com. I do see. I mean, you talk about artful aging. You're talking about selfie journalism. It seems like there's an opportunity for Citizen Joe to become that journalist on the street who bests the mainstream media. There seems to be a movement towards simplicity, towards back to the simple virtues of a yesteryear gone away. Is there hope?
Yes, and it's up to us. It's up to the individuals. It's what Margaret Mead said. When enough people decide to do it, the whole thing could change. You look what happened in the midterm election. It should have been headline news day after day. They held an election and barely anyone showed up. 74% of the people stayed home. If this happened in Russia, it would be big news. They had an election and nobody came. And so what we're saying is this is the greatest opportunity probably in my lifetime to have real positive change. It is a time – look, to me, I'm a political atheist. I mentioned I was in politics. Paul Craig Roberts is one of our writers, former Assistant Treasury Secretary under Reagan. We're guys that have been there and women that have been there. This is the best opportunity now for something new. And, one of the ways I made my name in my business was when I wrote trend tracking back in the late 80s, and I predicted a new third party. And for some reason, I mentioned Ross Perot. The time for that is now. You look at all of the polls and people's disgust with the Republicans and the Democrats. As I said, I'm a political atheist, and I don't say this sarcastically either. I look at the Republicans and Democrats as the same as the Bloods and the Crips. They're murderers and thieves. How many more people do they have to slaughter, starting wars based on lies, before people could call them murderers? And how much more of our money do they have to steal before they call them thieves? Yeah. So right now, the opportunity, when we talk about the aging, the baby boomers that are at a time now in their lives, they've seen enough. They know the deal. You're not a kid anymore. You're either going to make it happen or you're not. The countdown is underway. And there are enough people, we believe, and the climate is right now for positive change to return this country back to its roots of the land of opportunity.
Well, Gerald, we thank you for being with us. I tell you, it is a harrowing prognostication, but there's also hope. And I think it is a call for action for people all around the country to take stock and move forward and take back our country. Again, folks, from the Trends Research Institute and Gerald Celente, it's the Trends Journal, December extra digital-only issue, December 2014. TrendsResearch.com. I would subscribe or beware. You don't want to be left out in the cold. Gerald, thanks for being with us. All the best in 2015.
Thanks for having me on, Randy. Great being with you. Thank you.
Take care.